Many thanks for joining us. You're still watching my spanking ad screen, and this right here is the part two of the discussion on stop living in that comment. I'm going to start this session by relaying an event also that happened in the life of a dear friend of mine. I have this friend of mine who is into the fashion industry, and she's really good at what she does. She makes clothes, and I've seen her work on different occasions. And all I could say was a cut above. And one of those days, a customer came to patronize her. Of course, we do pray for customers to come patronize us. And the customer brought clothes for her to work on or for her to sew. And she did sew the clothes. And the day for delivery came, and the customer came to pick up the clothes. And when the customer saw the clothes, the customer was very angry. I could deduce that the customer was, I wasn't there, but from what my friend told me, I could deduce that she wasn't happy with the way the cloth came out. And so she started expressing herself, and that expression gave rise to so many things. The customer was spiting my friend, spiting her skill and her personality, even. And so my friend started feeling terrible at her words. And my friend was even asking herself, like within herself, did I even learn this work very well? Because of the kind of harsh words the customer was using at the time. And when she was telling me this, she was almost crying. And she said, Nick, I think I'll just quit this fashion design stuff and perhaps get a job that will be paying me by the end of the month and all that. But by the grace of God, we were able to talk things over, and she's no longer living in that comment anymore. If she could be dished from living in such kind of comment, you too could be dished as well. All right, I'd like to relate a story that happened in the scripture to this very subject matter. I consider the story epochal enough to present and to bring to our knowledge as it concerns this subject matter. In John chapter 1, verse 45 to 46, John 1 45 to 46, it's a story of Philip and Nathaniel that also is related to Jesus. Philip findeth Nathanael and said unto him, the one whom Moses and the prophets did write about is come. And hear what Nathanael said, very derogatory and demeaning remark. Nathanael said, can any good thing come out of Nazareth? This was Nazareth that Jesus came from. And Nathanael is making such kind of comment about the people of Nazareth. I mean, it is my considered opinion that that wouldn't be the first time such kind of demeaning remark or comment will be made about the inhabitants of Nazareth. But meanwhile, Jesus, knowing these, um, he never allowed that comment to even be cloud or to even vitiate God's purpose and God's plan for his life. And at a point, he said in John chapter 9, verse 5, as long as I am in the earth, I am the light of the world. A man who is suffering from living in one comment or the other wouldn't have been able to muster the courage, wouldn't have been able to muster the temerity and the impetus, as it were, to vocalize such kind of reality about himself. So, if you are still living in that comment, you are doing yourself no good at all. As a matter of fact, you are shortchanging God's purpose, and you are even keeping God's potentials, which He has stored up in you, dormant. Let me say this, brother and sister, please hear me. Let no comment become your landlord. Do not give your tenancy to whatsoever comment anybody has made about you. Good enough, the person might have been able to identify a challenge or an area of concern in your life, but you cannot continue living in that challenge. What do you need to do? You have to pick up, you have to be intentional about building up yourself and developing yourself so that you become a better version of yourself. Now, in the book of Acts, chapter 17, verse 28, lies a very deep mystery, which I would suggest that everyone who happens to be living in whatsoever comment should go and check up. And I believe that God is going to make the revelation so clear to you that it will be so potent enough to ditch you from living in whatever comment that you have been living in. Acts chapter 17, verse 28, it reads, and I quote, for in him we live, in him we move, in him we have our being. In him Who is the him in this context? The him in this context is no other person but God. So we have God to live in him, not in a comment, not in a word, not in a statement, not in a proverb. Your life is too big to be contained in a comment. God has so much deposited resources in you, so much so that you would want to consign your living in a statement or in a comment that somebody has made about you. All right, this is where we are going to be drawing the curtain for today's discussion. Although this discussion has not ended, the next video is going to be the conclusive discussion on this very subject matter. And so please do well to watch the video, leave your comment, and don't forget to like the video. And in that video, in the concluding video, I'm going to be talking about some actionable steps that we could take that will help us to stop living in whatever comment that we have been, or that we may have been living in, as it were. Thank you very much. Till I come your way, you are watching my Spanking Heart Screen.